Hey up, everyone. I'm your host, Stef the Alternate, and welcome to the Zero to Success podcast, the series where I dive deep into the minds of YouTube's most intriguing content creators. Our guests open up about the realities of being in the YouTube world, and in each episode, we learn more about their personality away from the camera. But seeing as this is our first episode, it's only right for me to start the ball rolling and answer the questions myself, asked by my good friend and CEO of Market Maker Management, Anthony. Thank you so much for doing this with me today. It would have been really, really strange if I answered the questions I asked myself. That would be some right pretentious shiz going on. So thanks for saving me, mate.
No, absolutely. That would be strange. It would definitely test your ability to be two people at once. But I do think if anybody could do it, it would be you. But I'm happy to be here as the guy asking questions, and seeing a little bit about what you know, because I'll tell you the truth, Steph. For as long as I've known you, I've seen you do some amazing things on YouTube. So very happy to be here. Very happy to ask the questions, and looking forward to learning a little bit about your YouTube experience.
Yeah, and let's get cracking. Let me just give you a little bit of a background as a YouTube content creator myself. I have amassed over 34 million views in total just on my main channel alone, which is called Stef the Alternate, and I have over 123,000 subscribers. I've been on YouTube now for about 4 or 5 years in total. I've also just launched a second channel within the last month called Political Nerds, and already I've amassed over 2,000 subscribers and have already hit the markers required to be fully monetized on YouTube. And so, yeah, I'm more than happy for this first episode to, kind of divulge to you guys some of my own knowledge and experience about, how to be on YouTube and how to be successful on YouTube. So with that being said, Anthony, fire away with the first question. Let's go.
Know it. So right out the gate, everybody knows YouTube is a difficult platform. There are many reasons for this, right? Not only is it you're running this thing on your own, you need to figure out, what type of content to make, what your audience is gonna like, So starting in that realm, how do you come up with new content? How do you not get bored of what you're doing? Come up with something new that is gonna interest these people at all times. Where does this inspiration come from?
Well, first and foremost, you have to be interested in the niche that you're talking about. The moment that you're not interested in what you're talking about is the moment that essentially the audience is going to cotton on and they're going to tune off themselves. Because if you're tuning off from the content, they're going to tune off from the content as well. In terms of, where I get inspiration from. So, I mean, there's quite a number of options here. I mean, these are just a few. I love going on social media to see, what everyone is talking about when it comes to my own particular niche, whether that be royal news or political news. So I like to go on platforms like Twitter to see what everyone is talking about there. I'll also go on to like mainstream media news, such as Daily Mail here and The Express, to see what they're talking about in terms of the niches that I'm discussing on my own channel, and yeah, get the inspiration that way.
That's great. Yeah, and especially in a space that you're in, it's so important to be relevant. These are very heavily browse friendly topics that you target from what we've seen, and it's important to do that. So I totally agree with you there. Let me ask you this: with being very relevant with things, there's sometimes things are going to happen that are out of your control, and you're always posting a ton of content. What's one of the biggest challenges you faced on YouTube, just across the board, and how did you solve for it? How did you fix it?
My biggest challenge was really early on in my YouTube journey, and that was actually understanding YouTube and how it works. It's not just you upload a video, title it, do whatever, and away you go. There's a process behind it all. There's a knowledge and expertise behind it all to try and ensure that your content has the best chance of being successful on the platform. And it's what's called SEO, otherwise known as search engine optimization. And, the biggest challenge for me was finding out the existence of SEO in the first place because I didn't have a clue. But then B, the bigger challenge was actually learning about it, what it's all about, how to optimize SEO when it comes to, your titles, your descriptions, your tags, even a thumbnail. I mean, how to actually create an effective thumbnail that a potential viewer is actually going to click on without hesitation. And so, yeah, the biggest challenge that I faced in my YouTube journey was finding out the existence of SEO and actually learning about it in the first place.
That's a great response. The interesting thing about YouTube is you're really on your own, all right? Unless you use an agency like ours, Market Maker Management, uh, you have to be confident enough in yourself and what you're presenting to push out content that you think there's an audience for. So not only that, you have to be an SEO expert, you have to know how to create graphics, and you're really hoping that it sticks, which is why I think YouTube's such an amazing platform. They've really given all of you take on all the responsibility, and rather than in a company where you're working with a ton of different people, you are the main person here. So I think that was a great response there. And to that point, you know, you're also creating a community. So in regards to this, how do you create a community that loves what you do, relates to you? How do you do that successfully? And how do you keep them around your channel? What are some of the things that you do to keep a community there and relevant?
So, um, I learn early on through working with who I consider my big brother, Andy, over on Popcorn Planet, that branding is a main component on YouTube. And it's something that I feel a lot of newbie YouTube content creators miss out on. And so the first thing that I needed to do to create a community around my channel was actually to create a brand around my channel. And so ensuring, for example, as I'm showing you guys here right now, I needed to make sure that I had the right logo, the right presentation, the right thumbnails, even the right overlays, when you watch my videos. And so, it was first and foremost creating a brand that a community could be formed around and within. The second thing is essentially branding myself, as Steph the alternate. And so there's little things that I'll say that's like included in that brand that does, foster that sense of community. I always say A up. And now everyone in the chat, when I'm live or in the comments, they'll say A up as well. And in terms of, engaging the audience further, I make sure that I chat with them. So in the live streams, not only will I just focus on the people that are sending the super chats and just communicating with them, which is what a lot of YouTubers do, and that's absolutely fair enough. No shade on them. But what I'll also do is I'll engage with the audience members that aren't sending the super chats on the live streams as well, because they're just as important. They're watching your content, they're adding to your numbers to make your channel successful. So it's ensuring that firstly, you create a brand that can foster a community, that can attract a community, and then engaging with all your audience, not only the ones that financially contribute through super chats and things like that.
100%. And to your point, you say A up. That is contagious. For those of you that watch Steph's channel, that is contagious. It's the way you say it, your mannerism. I don't know, but it is contagious. Just from, I'll tell you, and I'm transparent. I love what Steph does. I love her content. It is not a niche I'm very familiar with, but just from knowing Steph, her personality portrays a persona that, when I hear her say, "Hey up," I'm at home at night and I'm like about to say it. I'm like, what am I, what am I doing?
But
But
that's but that's
it's
the thing
contagious.
though, Anthony, and you kind of hitting the nail on the head there. Ultimately, as a YouTube content creator, to really fully engage an audience, you just have to be truthful. You have to be authentic. You just have to
Yep.
be you. Otherwise, the audience is just going to sniff out that fakery and
Yep.
drop you faster than a lead balloon, really, in that regard.
Well, Yes, and to that point, we recently have been starting to work with some higher end clients, a lot of people in the celebrity space, and big networks, TV networks. And one of the things that they come to us about is the confusion of how to grow. And you look at their content, it's so polished. It looks like, you can't start a channel off looking like you have been a master in television for years. I mean, you can, but it shows when you're real. You don't need the best equipment right off the gate. You don't need to show things that nobody's ever seen. As long as you're real and you present your personality, that's really where we start seeing the growth. And to that point, it's going to lead me into my next question pretty well. YouTube, you're in a vulnerable space, right? Like you said, you have to build numbers, build that community, but there's also going to be people that just don't vibe with you, or there's just those trolls out there, and that's how it is everywhere. So on that point, because being vulnerable, you got to be able to take the heat a little bit too. How do you engage with negativity? How do you deal with negative comments? How do you deal with the criticism that's coming to you online, especially in a space like yours? You have, from what it seems, two sides of things. Some people will love you, some people will hate you, some people are on your side, some people are not. It's an amazing niche. So I mean, how do you deal with it specifically?
First and foremost, when it comes to, both my channels, Steph the Alter Nerd in terms of royal news and political nerds, they are a magnet when it comes to positive comments, but also negative comments as well. Um, and the way I deal with it, first and foremost, is expecting it. When you're on YouTube, when you're putting yourself out there on the internet publicly, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, whatever platform you choose, right? You have to accept that there are going to be some people that are going to like you and that are going to agree with you and support what you do. And then there's going to be other people that aren't. And most of them are going to be very respectful in terms of their constructive criticism and their comments. There's going to be a small few that aren't going to be respectful, that are going to be downright nasty. There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing
Mm,
you can do about it. You just have to acknowledge that they're there, that they're saying what they're saying, but you have to draw the line as to what you feel is constructive criticism that you will listen to and that you'll learn from. And the other side, which is those that are just being trolls and aren't providing constructive criticism that you can learn from and that you can grow from, and are just there literally to try and pull you down. Ultimately, though, don't for me, I'm not afraid of constructive criticism and negative comments because ultimately it's free feedback and it's information, it's data that could have the potential of making me better as a YouTube content creator. And for that, it's like, oh my goodness, that's worth its weight in gold. Give me more constructive criticism. That's fantastic. Go for it. Go nuts.
no, I hear you. You have me laughing here a little bit because I'm thinking in my head, you I'm thinking, Steph's in a space where we've seen it's controversial. She goes, okay, what should I do next? Politics. Let's do politics. I'm like, that's Steph for you. She's like, all right, let's go into the next big one. But it's brilliant because, when it comes down to it, controversial, topics are what get people excited. No matter whether we want to say that out loud or not. I like controversy, especially on a platform. It excites me. I want to supply my opinion. I want people to supply theirs. And that comes back to the criticism side of things where you got to figure out how to swallow it if you're going to put on your big pants and, go into that space as well. So with that said, like you do, you have two channels, you create a lot of content, you do so much. I don't know how you do it. Now you're even doing this. What are three tips that you can give to the audience when it comes to the video production process? Finding content to make, finding content to make, to actually uploading the video. What are some tips that you can supply? Three of them that you can supply to the audience here.
Okay, so my top three tips when it comes to the video production process. Yeah, so first up is finding the idea, but knowing which wells to go to find the idea in the first place. So you really need to familiarize yourself with the sources that you're going to ensure that the good sources, the legitimate sources, and you go from there. Um, in terms of editing, I use Movavi video editor. I think it's a really, really good program to use. Very, very easy to use for first timers and for beginners. I still use it to this day if I need to edit my video in any way, shape, or form. So that's quite, integral to my video production process. And then the third one is in terms of just uploading the video, I try and do it all in advance, right? So what I'll do is I'll ensure that I will, I suppose, earmark an hour or two a day, right? To find my idea, film it, edit if needs be, and then upload it. And so, in terms of the production process, it's all about being organized and
Hmm.
ensuring that you have a process in place that keeps you on top every step of the way, every single day, and ensuring that you are earmarking like that 1-2 hour a day to get it all done, which is what I do.
You said something there as well. You were like, if I need to edit, this is what I use. I find what you do, it's an art. I mean, you use a lot of different tools, you use different equipment. If you guys know what she's doing on the back end, for those of you who know, you know, but she is always changing screens like she just did. This isn't edited afterwards. This is live. And I find that pretty awesome. It takes a lot of, moving pieces, not only in front of you, but mentally as well. So, I applaud you for that, for sure. So to that point, what kind of equipment do you do? We know you have a great camera and mic. What kind of equipment do you have that we're not seeing?
Oh my goodness. Right, here we go. So, Anthony mentioned, that you guys may have noticed that the screens are changing a little bit as we're filming this as we go along. And so, one of the kind of major pieces of equipment that I could not live without, that's essentially in my top three, is what's called the Elgato Stream Deck. Now, as part of my video production process, I use a program called OBS, and that is invaluable to me. I use it for filming videos. I also use it for streaming as well. And it's completely free to use OBS. And so, yeah, in terms of, the equipment that I use and how I'm able to change these screens as you're watching it in real time, I use something called the Elgato Stream Deck. And you'll see here that there are these buttons, and I can just press these buttons and it'll just change the scene on the OBS program that I'm using right now to be able to record this Zero to Success podcast with Anthony. The other thing that I love that is definitely my top three when it comes to equipment is the Elgato teleprompter, because this allows me to not only be able to see what I'm needing to read right in front of me and be able to look straight into the camera as I'm doing it, as a traditional teleprompter would allow you to do. But this thing is really, really different. What it also does is it's essentially an extra monitor. So, what I can do is quite literally, I could have Anthony's face there in that screen right there.
Yo,
So as I'm talking to you guys that are watching right now directly in the camera, I'm also seeing Anthony as well and talking directly to him there instead of having my face kind of here where Anthony might be on my monitor to my left. And so this is a really, really good piece of equipment to have because it allows you to continually look at the audience straight on, which, maintains their attention, right? Instead of taking it away. The third piece of equipment that I could just not live without is my Rodecaster Pro 2. Like, it is an insane piece of equipment. And so, yeah, this is a soundboard, and it just has everything that I need to ensure that, all my different audio channels are separated out and I can have them at different levels. And so, yeah, it's a fancy soundboard, but it's definitely worth it. So yeah, they're my top three, apart from a camera and mic, in my list when it comes to the equipment that I use that I could not live without on either of my channels.
That's cool. Now, so we're looking at Steph now, everybody, but if you really want to know what she's looking at, it's like a spaceship. She's like behind the control board of a spaceship. You wouldn't see that or know that unless she tells you, but I'm sure her desk looks like tons of buttons you wouldn't know what the heck to do with. Now, Steph, uh, is this something that somebody that's starting out, do you believe they would need all this stuff? Or, I know that you've spent a lot of time doing this and you've built to this. Are these things that are necessary right now for somebody who wants to jump into YouTube, or are these things that you think they could build up to?
For me, it's things that they can build up to. Now, of course, if, a newbie YouTube content creator has, the money to be able to get all this stuff right off the bat, I'd be like, yeah, go for it. It's worth its weight in gold. Now, when I started off, I didn't have the money to be able to buy this equipment or the resources to get it. And so what I did was, when I eventually got monetized on YouTube with my main channel, Stef the Alter Nerd, what I did was everything that I got, I put back into the channel. I reinvested and started to upgrade all my equipment. I mean, I started on a Logitech webcam and a USB mic. I then upgraded, to a DSLR camera and a Rode Procaster, XLR mic with the Rodecaster Pro 2, soundboard that I showed you guys earlier on, Stream Deck, bit by bit. I was able to earn more on YouTube as I got more successful and reinvest back into the channel by getting all this equipment. It took a while. It wasn't an overnight thing. But before you know it, you basically have a studio that, for me, is quite reminiscent of the Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah, that's there was an episode of SpongeBob when they like go into the spaceship and there's like all these buttons. Just seeing the colors and how it looks, that is like exactly how I think of it. But to that point, money, YouTube, you can make money. There's no surprise there. A lot of people do it full time. You yourself do it full time. It's something that everybody wants to get toward, like get to. And I get it. I mean, it is a dream job. You're creating content, you're hanging out with friends, your audience, your community. It's a beautiful job. So, on that note, to get to where you are, what key strategies and methods uh, would you recommend using or a creator to follow in order to earn revenue through their channel?
So, one of my top tips is research other content creators that are within your chosen niche that are successful. Find out what they're doing. Find out what they're talking about. Find out how they're creating their thumbnails. What do their thumbnails look like? How are they titling their videos? What are they doing in their descriptions? What are they using when it comes to their tags? Look at what they're doing. Obviously, don't copy them like word for word or anything like that, but treat it then as inspiration for how you then create your videos and how you're going to title them and how, you're going to follow essentially a video and setting it up that's going to be successful from a search engine optimization perspective, right? And yeah, that essentially would just be my top tip. Find out what other successful creators are doing within your niche. Take inspiration from that and use it in your own channels. Before
I love that.
long, you'll be monetized on YouTube yourself.
I love that. Yeah, and that's something really powerful to point out. Now, I'm not going to downplay these people that come up with a completely original idea. It happens. And a lot of times it works. Now, in your own respect, every channel is original, right? And that's where you come in with the A up and your own persona, personality that people can't match. But, from where we stand as well with market maker management, it's about looking at the people who have done it in the past. And that's how you're going to get suggested. That's how you're going to be able to collect an audience that watches both channels, collaborate with these people. I personally think that is the best way to do it, or else you're going to be struggling trying to not only get views, but even just see, is there an avatar for this audience I'm looking for? Or am I just hoping for the best and not being realistic? Just don't reinvent the wheel. If somebody's done it, they've done it, and I would definitely use that, when you're creating a channel. So I love the way you answered that. Um, to that point as well, you know, what methods have you found to be the most, other than that, most effective for YouTube growth in general?
Well, as I mentioned earlier on, within the last month, I've launched my second channel, Political Nerds. And within the space of 12 videos, I've already hit all the markers required to be fully monetized on YouTube. How did I do that? Well, what I mentioned earlier on, it's a niche that first and foremost I'm very passionate about and very interested in. I have a degree in international relations and security studies. Part of that was politics. And so I do have an academic background in this particular niche. But the main method that I found to be the most effective for growing my second channel and getting it monetized within 12 videos, literally, was looking at what the other channels are doing. What are they doing? What are they reporting on? What is the audience interested in that I'm trying to capture myself? And then put my own spin on it, put my own brand, my own energy, my own personality into it. And so, yeah, that's exactly what I did. And yeah, proof is in the pudding. It worked.
Yep, definitely worked. And I love that niche as well. There's always something to talk about. There's always good, there's always bad, mostly bad, but that offers good content. Um, but it's an amazing space, and I'm happy that you're doing it. So I want to ask a few fun things, kind of change the mood here from seriousness, but also stick within the serious guidelines, of course. What is the best thing you think about YouTube? I mean, what is your favorite thing about YouTube in general?
Oh my goodness. I'm torn between creating the content and interacting with my audience. Creating the content because I get a buzz from it. It's like, oh my goodness, let's like, I don't know, report on, all right, the stupid thing Hazza and Megsy have done today on Stef the Alternate, or okay, let me dive into, my academic background and do an amateur linguistic analysis on Keir Starmer and through what he's saying, what he doesn't actually really want you to know, and things like that. But then on the other side, interacting with the audience, I get such a buzz from that because we're all discussing the same thing that we like, whether it's royal news on Steph the Alternate or political news on Political Nerds, and being able to discuss these topics with other minds that are just as interested in it, and just having fun and having a laugh as well. Um, if someone really had to twist my arm and I had to choose between the two, I suppose there's no audience without the content, so I would ultimately have to choose the content. But yeah, there we
That's
go.
very That's super cool. When you think about it from like a bird's eye view or somebody who's not in it, or I mean, even somebody who's in it, you literally can create a group of your people or people that think like you, that are gonna gel with you, watch your content, feel the same way. I know there's other platforms, of course, like Instagram, TikTok, all kinds of social media. I don't think anybody does a better job than YouTube when it comes to getting people involved. And then you're putting out this great content that people chime in their thoughts on, and um, it's just so cool. So I totally agree with you there. But at the center of it all, yes, is content. Content is king. Content is key. without good content, remember, I always say this to my clients, somebody's actually watching this. Like somebody is watching this. You didn't just create this to put it up there and hope it gets a bunch of views. Like every single number you see is a person, like me, you watching this thing. They are not to be taken lightly. They're going to judge it just like anybody else would. So if you put content first, which I think is a great thing that you did, you're in the right headspace for sure because you're putting the best product out for your people. And I like that a lot. Um, so that's cool. So to that point, we did the best. What's the worst thing on YouTube? What is the worst part of YouTube that you think you have to deal with or somebody would deal with on YouTube?
Oof. The worst thing about YouTube, uh, the drama. The drama. When
Yeah,
you're discussing topics that can be quite polarizing, or should I say that are quite polarizing in my experience, drama inevitably follows.
mhm,
It's a thing, right? Um, Now we're all human. Sometimes we make mistakes, and drama is created from that. Um, I've made that mistake in the past myself, unfortunately. But more often than not, when I'm having to deal with drama on YouTube, it's other people essentially starting the drama, and trying to pull me in, and I just can't be bothered with that BS. I'm just here, right, to create content about about things that I like to talk about, things that I'm passionate about, things that in my second channel in particular, I have an academic background about that
sure.
I enjoy from an academic perspective, right? And so when drama enters into the field, let's say, it kind of detracts from all of that. And that's bad. That's really, really bad. You can have people, quite literally creating videos off of the back of your name, just for the clout, the views, the clicks. You'll have people, yeah, some people will be telling the truth about you when it comes to drama, but there'll be others that'll lie about you, whether that's
Right.
intentional or not, who knows? Uh, but yeah, ultimately, the worst thing about YouTube is the drama. I mean, I've had it that severe and that bad that it's actually, got to the point where I've had death threats and threats of harm.
Craziness.
And so, yeah, for those that can be very, very passionate and supportive about your content and what you do and what you release, there is the other side that are very, very passionate about really, really wanting to inject drama into your life and try and bring you down. And ultimately, to me, that is the worst thing about YouTube. How you deal with that, though, for me, if I let's say create the drama myself, right? I'd come on camera, apologize sincerely, and then move on and never address it or talk about it ever again, right? Because I've addressed it, I've apologized, if it was my fault, all that lot, and you move on. If it's drama that, I've never started in my life, which is the majority of times, just ignore it.
Yeah.
Your content speaks for itself.
100%, 100%. And what I find as well is that when you're in the spotlight, everybody expects you to be perfect. I mean, not can't say everybody, but there are a lot of people who expect you to be perfect. You say that one thing that they can grab that they can use against you, oh, they're going to use it. Now, of course, aside from the people that are actually doing things that I don't agree with, it's crazy that when you get a following, and we see this all the time, people just will do anything they can to create drama. They want to hear from you. They want to see if they affect you. They want to see if it gets to you. And I find it bizarre for the people who do it. That's not who I am. And I would say everybody I surround myself with is not that way either. But it amazes me that when you put yourself in the spotlight, you really see those people that are out there in some cases to get you, which is just terrible. But
Mm.
hey, if you want to make this into a living, you want to turn YouTube into something, you are making yourself vulnerable. And again, you have to deal with it. And what's another thing that's funny too, which I didn't mention to the question in the past, is that we also have the clients that can't handle it. And it's fun to see at the beginning of a journey when somebody's working into getting comfortable with that, drama, I've had clients be like, "Yeah, is that what you think? You wanna go?" I'm like, "Oh, no, please, let's pull back. You don't wanna put yourself out there like that." But, it's something that we all have to whenever you start a YouTube channel, it's something that you just have to be prepared for, no matter what niche you're in, and, be ready to handle it maturely, because if not, you'll be right in the mix, and a lot of people that can't handle it, they end up in a place where, their channels are no more. It's crazy. We've seen it happen. People go through a really bad situation, they don't handle it well, they don't address it, and they lose a lot of their audience. So much, in fact, they can't do YouTube anymore, which is just bizarre, but it's the truth. It happens. So I think that's a great point. It is definitely the worst thing about YouTube.
But it speaks to, what I said earlier on, which is for anyone that's new that wants to enter this space of YouTube or any kind of social media platform where you want to release content, you have to reconcile and accept the notion that there are going to be some people that are going to like you and some people that are not. If you cannot accept that, don't even bother.
Yep.
Don't bother. Don't do it.
Yep.
But if you're strong enough and you can accept that, welcome on board. And I hope every success in the world for you guys. Absolutely. And here at Market Maker Management, they can help you with that. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Market Maker Management and how they can help you as a YouTube creator be successful here on YouTube and start earning just like myself. I do this full time now, guys. I'll put the link to their website in the description bar below so you guys can find out a little bit more about what Market Maker Management do. With that being said, though, that is it for this episode. Thanks to the guest questioner here, Anthony, CEO of Market Maker Management, for joining and picking my brains. But stay tuned because, guys, next up, we have the after party. So, yes, we've got the Zero to Success podcast after party, after show. Anthony has a few more questions he wants to pick my brains on. And, guys, we're going to get a little bit more personal. It's going to be a little bit more fun and interesting. So stay tuned for the Zero to Success podcast after show. Thanks for tuning into this video, though. Appreciate all your faces. Until the next time, you guys. Laters.
Thanks, guys.